picture this for just a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a single quarter sits quietly in a drawer, a coffee jar, or the pocket of an old winter coat. It looks ordinary, it feels ordinary, yet if the right person finds it, that small silver-colored disc could unlock nearly $1 million in life-changing wealth. And here's the unsettling part: a broken bar, most people would spend it without a second thought. This is the true story of the 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin born during one of the most chaotic transitions in U.S. minting history, a coin that rewrote American money forever, and in extremely rare cases, a coin that has sold for up to $975,000. Before you laugh and say, "It's just a quarter," let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you actually looked at your change? In 1965, the United States Mint made a decision that would ripple through generations. Silver was becoming too valuable to keep inside everyday coins, so the government quietly removed silver from quarters and replaced it with a cheaper copper-nickel blend. The public was never fully warned, and the mint itself was racing against time. That year, billions of quarters were struck without mint marks. No D, no S. Just the tab broken bar. 1965. Most of them were supposed to be clad coins, cheap, common, forgettable. But in the confusion of the transition, something extraordinary happened. A handful of quarters were struck the wrong way. Some were accidentally minted on leftover silver plan case meant for 1964 coins. Others were experimental strikes never meant to leave the mint, and a few were so perfectly struck, so pristine, that collectors today describe them with one word: a broken bar. Unreal. Now here's where fear should kick in, because these rare 1965 no mint mark quarters were released into circulation. They were mixed with everyday change. They were spent at grocery stores, dropped into parking meters, thrown into tip jars, which means one chilling possibility remains true: some of them were never found. Imagine the irony: a person struggling to pay bills, unknowingly handing over a coin that could have paid off their home, secured their retirement, or rewritten their family's future. That thought alone has driven collectors into full-blown obsession for decades. But not every 1965 quarter is valuable, and that's where excitement meets urgency. The ultra-valuable examples share very specific traits. First, weight. A standard clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver quarter weighs closer to 6.25 grams. That tiny difference has separated pocket change from six-figure windfalls. Second, sound. Silver rings differently. Toss it gently on a hard surface and it sings instead of thuds. Yes, it sounds funny. Yes, collectors really do this. And no, they don't care who's watching. Third, condition. And this is where values explode. Most coins suffer damage, scratches, wear, discoloration, but the rarest 1965 quarters exist in near perfect condition. Sharp details on Washington's hair, crisp lettering, a flawless eagle with fully defined feathers, coins so clean they look frozen in time. When one of these quarters surfaced in elite condition and was professionally authenticated, collectors lost their minds. Bidding wars erupted, prices climbed past six figures, then seven, and then, the number that made headlines, $975,000, nearly $1 million. A broken bar for a quarter. Now pause for a second and let it sink in. A coin originally worth 25 cents outperforming stocks, real estate, and decades of traditional investing. And unlike paper money, this wealth doesn't inflate away. It hides, quietly, patiently, waiting for the right hands to recognize it. This is where Act 2 gets dangerous. A broken bar because knowledge changes behavior. Once people learned about these quarters, something fascinating happened. Americans started checking their change. Coffee cans were dumped. Old piggy banks cracked open, estate collections were searched with flashlights and magnifying glasses. Suddenly, every 1965 quarter became suspicious. And here's the humorous part. Some people became so obsessed they started weighing quarters at kitchen tables like amateur scientists, husbands arguing with spouses over whether a coin sounded silver enough. One collector famously admitted he checked so many quarters that he began hearing silver ringing in his sleep. But beneath the humor sits a serious truth. Rare coins don't announce themselves, they blend in, and time is not your friend. Every year, more of these quarters are lost forever, melted, damaged, spent by someone who never knew what they held. That's why urgency matters now more than ever. If you own old change, especially inherited collections or drawers untouched for decades, the window is still open, a broken bar, but it's narrowing, because once a rare example is discovered and certified, it disappears into private vaults. Wealth moves quietly, and those who hesitate often watch opportunity pass them by. Now comes the turning point, the realization that this isn't just about a coin, it's about awareness. The people who profit from rare money aren't always wealthy to begin with. They're curious, they're patient, they pay attention to details others ignore, and they understand one powerful rule: history leaves clues. The 1965 Washington quarter sits at the crossroads of American economic change. It marks the end of silver in everyday life, the moment money stopped being metal and became trust. And when mistakes happen during moments like that, they create legends. But here's the cliffhanger most people miss: not all valuable 1965 quarters have been found. Experts openly admit that undiscovered examples may still exist, tucked away, forgotten, passed down without explanation. And every time someone casually says, "It's just a quarter," the odds quietly reset. So let me ask you the question that separates viewers from winners. What if the most valuable thing you own doesn't look valuable at all? What if it's already in your house? Act 3 isn't about fantasy. It's about choice. You can ignore this and move on, millions do. Or you can slow down, look closer, re-examine what you already have. Because wealth doesn't always arrive as a paycheck or a promotion. Sometimes it arrives disguised as spare change. The fear isn't missing out on $1 million coin. The fear is having a broken bar and never knowing. The excitement is realizing that opportunity hasn't passed you by. It may be sitting silently, waiting for you to recognize its worth. And the urgency? That's simple. Every day you wait is another day that rare coin could be lost, spent, or damaged forever. So the next time a quarter passes through your fingers, don't rush. Listen, look, weigh it, question it, because history has already proven one thing beyond doubt: a single quarter changed lives. And the next only a broken bar could be yours. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that, to most people, looks ordinary. A silver quarter, worn slightly by time, edges softened from decades of passing from pocket to pocket. It's a 1966 Washington quarter. No mint mark, just another piece of currency. Yet what if I told you this simple coin could be worth nearly $1 million today? Yes. $971,000 for something most Americans dismiss as spare change. But before you rush to your drawer or your old coin jar, take a deep breath, because what you're about to learn might just change how you see every coin in your life. The story of the 1966 no-mint mark Washington quarter isn't just about metal and minting. It's about timing, mistakes, and rare opportunities that only a few fortunate or perhaps observant people ever get to seize. You see, this coin isn't rare because of a scarcity in numbers alone. Millions of quarters were minted in 1966, but this particular variation carries a flaw, a whisper of history that can turn ordinary into extraordinary. And today, collectors are willing to pay nearly $1 million for the right one. Yes. It sounds unbelievable, almost like the premise of a treasure hunt movie, but it's real, and for those who spot it, the reward can be life-changing. Now, let's backtrack a bit. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, minted to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday. Over the decades, countless quarters have circulated, each carrying the familiar profile of America's first president. But the mid-1960s brought a twist. The U.S. Mint was grappling with a silver shortage. Production errors began to creep in, almost like cracks in an otherwise pristine system. Among these, the no-mint mark 1966 quarter was born. Here's where it gets interesting. Normally, coins from this era would carry either a D for Denver or a S for San Francisco, but some 1966 quarters mysteriously appeared with no mint mark at all. At first glance, they looked ordinary. Most Americans never noticed them. In fact, if you handed one to a cashier today, they'd probably laugh at the idea of it being valuable. "Nice coin," they'd say, and slide it back into your hand. But here's the secret. The absence of a mint mark isn't a mere oversight. It's a flaw that makes this coin a key piece for collectors, a golden ticket of the numismatic world. And while it might seem minor, in the rare coin market, minor details can mean the difference between a few dollars and nearly $1 million. But what causes this staggering value? It's a combination of rarity, condition, and the sheer excitement that collectors feel when they discover one. Imagine, for a moment, holding a coin that could be worth your entire life savings or even more. The thrill is intoxicating. Your heartbeat quickens, palms sweat, and suddenly, that dusty old drawer of coins in your attic feels like a treasure chest. Fear, excitement, and the allure of fortune all collide in a single moment. And this is exactly why collectors will pay top dollar, sometimes breaking six-figure thresholds, to secure one of these 1966 no-mint mark quarters. Let me ask you this. How often do you get a second chance at history? Most of us live in a world of fleeting opportunities. Cars depreciate, stocks rise and fall, and yesterday's news is already forgotten. But coins like the 1966 no-mint mark Washington quarter are frozen in time. They are a bridge to the past, tangible evidence of an era long gone. Owning one isn't just about money, it's about holding history, holding a piece of America itself. And for those who realize this, selling or acquiring one isn't just a transaction, it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Now, if you're wondering whether this coin could actually be sitting in your home right now, the answer is terrifyingly simple. Yes, most people never know what they've been sitting on. That jar of loose change on your counter, the coins in a drawer you haven't opened in years, even a coin tucked away in an old photo album, any one of them could be the coin that turns ordinary into extraordinary. And here's the kicker. Many collectors won't wait. When a 1966 no-mint mark quarter surfaces, the bidding can escalate almost instantly, turning a quiet living room discovery into a competitive auction room frenzy. Imagine realizing, too late, that the quarter you tossed aside last week is now worth nearly $1 million. That's the fear and urgency that grips this world. Of course, spotting one isn't as simple as glancing at a coin. You need to know the details of the exact shape of the mint mark space, the slightest variations in strike, the coin's condition and luster. Even the tiniest scratch or imperfection can affect its value dramatically, and that's where expertise comes in. Some collectors spend years studying patterns, learning every nuance, every subtle clue. They memorize thousands of coins, not for fun, but for the moment they might stumble upon that rare gem. And when they do, their knowledge converts into instant, life-altering wealth. But here's a humorous thought. Imagine a cashier in 1966 tossing one of these coins into your hand, oblivious to its hidden fortune, as if saying, "Keep the change, buddy." Meanwhile, decades later, someone like you could be holding that exact coin, staring at it in disbelief, knowing it could be worth nearly $1 million. Life has a funny way of playing tricks like that, and this is exactly why the coin market is as thrilling as it is lucrative. You never know when fortune will knock. Now, let's move deeper into the story. Beyond the thrill and the potential wealth, the 1966 no-mint mark quarter represents a critical lesson in awareness and timing. In the mid-1960s, Americans weren't thinking about numismatic mistakes. They were focused on daily life, the Vietnam era, the space race, a country changing rapidly. Coins were just coins, meant for groceries, gas, and parking meters. Yet, these very coins, overlooked and underestimated, became the keys to a hidden treasure trove. It's a lesson that echoes far beyond coins. Sometimes, the world's greatest opportunities are hiding in plain sight, waiting for the observant, the patient, and the bold. And here's a cliffhanger worth pondering. How many of these quarters are still undiscovered today? The answer is no one knows. Some may be sitting in attics, hidden in jewelry boxes, or even tucked inside piggy banks, forgotten for decades. The potential for discovery is enormous, and for those willing to search, the rewards could be beyond imagination. In fact, it's entirely possible that the next 1966 no-mint mark Washington quarter worth nearly $1 million is sitting right in your home. Could it be yours? But don't let excitement cloud caution. The coin market is filled with pitfalls. Counterfeits exist, grading matters, and one misstep can turn a fortune into frustration. Yet, for those who approach it with knowledge, strategy, and patience, the potential is staggering. Every auction, every appraisal, every careful inspection becomes a moment of possibility. And when the right coin surfaces, when the right bidder sees it, history and fortune collide in a way that is impossible to replicate. So, what should you do if you suspect you have such a coin? The first step is awareness. Examine your coins closely. Note mint marks or the Lacthariofa and seek expertise from reputable numismatists. Condition is everything, and even a single mark can affect value dramatically. But remember, for those with a true treasure, selling or securing one isn't just about money. It's about understanding the rare alignment of history, scarcity, and human desire that makes this coin so extraordinary. Now, as we approach the final moments of this journey, consider this: a coin is more than currency. It is a story frozen in time, a legacy of human craftsmanship, a bridge between generations. The 1966 no-mint mark Washington quarter embodies all of this and more. It challenges us to look closer, to value the overlooked, and to act when opportunity whispers in our ears. And while most people will continue to see it as mere change, a few will recognize its power, and for those few, life can change in an instant. In the end, the lesson is clear. Fortune doesn't always announce itself with flashing lights or fanfare. Sometimes, it waits quietly in a coin jar, in a dusty drawer, or in the pocket of a forgotten jacket. The 1966 no-mint mark Washington quarter is a reminder that the extraordinary can hide in the ordinary, that history and wealth can converge in a small, unassuming object. And if you're lucky, vigilant, and bold enough to seize it, you might just find yourself holding a piece of America worth nearly $1 million. So, the question remains, what will you do when you see it? Will you recognize it, hold it, and let it change your life? Or will you walk past it, unaware of the fortune slipping through your fingers? The choice is yours, and the opportunity may be closer than you think. After all, in the world of rare coins, history waits for no one, and fortune favors the observant. But hidden within its metallic luster is a secret so rare, so extraordinary, that collectors and investors across the United States would give anything to add it to their collection. This is not just a coin, it's a potential fortune, quietly waiting to be discovered. And today, We're diving into the story of the 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter, a coin that could be worth nearly $1 million today. Now, before you scoff and toss aside that jar of old change, ask yourself, how many times have you passed over something ordinary, only to discover later that it was priceless? That's exactly what makes this coin so captivating. The 1967 Washington quarter was minted during a time of transition, a year when America was on the edge of change, and its coins reflect that in ways few people notice. Most quarters carry the D or S mint marks, signaling their birthplace in Denver or San Francisco. But the 1967 no-mint mark quarter, it's a ghost, a rare anomaly in a sea of ordinary coins, striking fear in the hearts of collectors and thrilling others with its scarcity. Picture this, it's 1967, the Vietnam War escalates, the space race captivates the nation, and in quiet mints across the country, coins are being stamped, destined to pass through millions of hands over decades. Yet, among the millions of quarters produced, a select few emerge without a mint mark, defying standard practice. How does such an oversight occur? Was it a mistake, or was it intentional? Theories abound. Some experts suggest these no-mint mark coins were experimental pieces or production anomalies. Others whisper of printing errors that somehow slipped through the stringent quality controls of the U.S. Mint. Regardless, their existence today is a tantalizing mystery, a bridge between history, rarity, and unimaginable value. Now, let's be honest. Finding a coin worth nearly $1 million in your pocket sounds like a plot from a Hollywood movie, but this is real life. And if you think your old jars of coins are just clutter, you might be sitting on a small fortune and not even know it. Imagine the excitement and the heart-racing thrill of realizing that a coin you found under your couch cushions, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer, could be worth more than a luxury car, a broken bar, maybe even a house. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter is not just valuable for its rarity, its condition, its silver content, and even the subtle details in its design play a role in determining its worth. Coins that are preserved perfectly, with sharp details and minimal wear, can fetch astronomical sums, but even those with minor imperfections command attention from serious collectors. And the current market value? Brace yourself. A pristine specimen of this coin has been known to sell for up to $961,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a piece of metal that most people would casually toss into a tip jar. Now, let's pause for a moment. I know what you're thinking. $961,000? That sounds crazy. How many of these coins could possibly exist? And that's exactly what makes the story so mesmerizing. Only a tiny fraction of these coins exist without a mint mark. Their rarity, combined with historical significance, silver content, and collector demand, creates a perfect storm for explosive value. And here's the kicker: because the market for rare coins is always evolving, today's undervalued coin could become tomorrow's six-figure jackpot. But let's shift gears for a second. What about the thrill of discovery? There's something electric about holding a coin and imagining the journey it has taken. Maybe it was in someone's pocket during the summer of '67, exchanged in the hum of diners and movie theaters. Or perhaps it was tucked away in a piggy bank for decades, only to be rediscovered by someone who had no idea of its hidden worth. Every scratch, every mark, every gleam tells a story, and in that story lies not just history, but potential wealth. Here's a humorous thought: if coins could talk, imagine the conversations they'd have. Oh, you think you are valuable? Wait until I tell you what the collectors would pay for me. And that's precisely why this coin stands out. It's silent, yet its value screams. It's ordinary, yet it holds extraordinary promise, and it challenges every one of us to rethink what we consider just change. As we dive deeper, it's important to understand the silver factor. The 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter is composed of 40% silver metal whose value has been steadily rising for decades. But this isn't just about silver, it's about scarcity and collectability. Silver provides a base value, yes, but collectors are willing to pay a premium, often hundreds of times the melt value, to own a piece of history that is as rare as this. In fact, the silver content itself is almost the least interesting aspect of the real story is the coin's rarity, provenance, and the chase that collectors love so much. Now, let's talk strategy. If you happen to own one of these coins, it's not a simple matter of heading to a local pawn shop. Serious investors understand that the market for rare coins requires patience, expertise, and timing. Auctions, private sales, and certified grading services are all part of the journey to realize the coin's true value. And that's where the tension builds, the suspense of finding the right buyer, at the right time, willing to recognize the coin's extraordinary worth. And here's a cliffhanger. Many collectors report stories of coins turning up in the most unexpected places: attics, old collections, even behind furniture. Some coins are discovered in the hands of people who had no idea what they were holding. Imagine, one afternoon, finding a coin tucked inside a dusty old book, only to learn that it could fund your dreams, your retirement, or even a lifetime of financial security. Of course, with every story of sudden wealth comes the flip side: fear. Fear of missing out, fear of selling too early, fear of losing the coin to someone who recognizes its value before you do. But this fear is part of the thrill. It's what makes rare coin collecting addictive. And for those who dare to dive into this world, the rewards can be life-changing. Let's take a moment to imagine the possibilities. $961,000 could buy a luxury car, a dream vacation, or even a modest estate. But beyond the material wealth, there's the prestige of owning something rare, something that connects you to history in a way few other assets can. And in the rare coin community, owning a 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter elevates you to an elite circle of collectors who understand the thrill of scarcity and the beauty of historical artifacts. So, what does this mean for you? It means you should look again at your coins, your collections, even the loose change in your home. One small piece could change everything. And if you think this sounds like a gamble, consider this. The opportunity to discover a coin of this caliber is fleeting. Every day, coins are bought, sold, and lost, disappearing into collections or private vaults, never to be seen again. The window to act is narrow, and history shows that those who hesitate are often left behind. But before we wrap up, let's circle back to the excitement that drives this story. There's a reason collectors chase these coins, why they study mint marks, scrutinize details, and attend auctions with bated breath. It's not just about money, it's about discovery, connection, and the undeniable thrill of knowing that something ordinary can hold extraordinary potential. The 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter isn't just a coin, it's a reminder that hidden treasures exist in the most unassuming places, waiting for those who are attentive, knowledgeable, and bold enough to seek them out. And here's the final thought, the one that leaves you hanging with both excitement and urgency. Somewhere out there, in a forgotten jar, drawer, or attic, a 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter is waiting. It could be yours, but will you recognize it? Will you seize the moment before someone else does? Because Historia and Fortunia favors the bold. And the next chapter of this coin's journey could start with you.